Reawakening. Our conscious minds often visualize ideas as little light bulbs going off in our heads, but our subconscious can be even more creative in illustrating the journey from idea to its full manifestation. Welcome again to Reawakening. Join me, your host, Chris Mann, as we check in again with dream interpreter Yvonne Ryba to discover how an egg carton full of hatched chicks symbolized for Yvonne some of her previously germinated ideas that required her nurturing to grow into fully developed concepts and eventually a fully expressed creation. We'll also examine how the hatching of animals in dreams can represent not only the birth of our ideas, but also the rebirth of our very selves. So let's check in once more with Yvonne. Hi, Yvonne. Happy Easter.
Thank you. To you as well.
Well, we're full on into spring. I have to ask you, do you have anything that fits the season, so to speak, in our dream category?
Yes, I do. And it's really a strange kind of coincidence that I had a dream myself in the last week, which has a kind of an Easter connection to it. So it deals with eggs, how Easter eggs are all the thing.
All the thing. And I the other day, it's so funny, I was looking up the connection between eggs and Easter. I didn't really grow up going to church a lot, and if I had learned this, I had forgot it, but that egg is the sort of the sign of the resurrection, and that's the connection with Jesus and Easter. I'm not sure where they brought the bunny in, but
Sign of fertility.
Sign of fertility. Ah! Well, there you go. That maybe we'll explore that further in the future. So eggs are a big symbol. So did you have a dream with eggs in them?
Well, not quite eggs. I'll tell you the dream, and then I'll go into the, as usual, what it means.
Yes.
So I was in a house that we lived in England. It was a big old Victorian house, and I was going through drawers. I was going to different cabinets and pieces of furniture with drawers looking for something. And I pulled the drawer open, and there was an egg carton in there. And that's what I was looking for. But it didn't have eggs in it. It had already hatched out chicks, but they weren't chickens. They were ducks, little ducklings.
Little ducklings. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is weird, but they were. And they were just sitting there quite happy. They weren't like, oh, you stuck us in a drawer. They were just sitting there. And I knew that I had two cartons, but I was glad to find this first one, although there were some spaces in the carton, like some had already disappeared or gone, or I'd used them. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of thinking, oh, yeah, I seem to remember why there are spaces. And then I thought, where is the other carton? It's full, and I need to find it. And then I saw next door's little girl, and she was sort of just there. And I said, did you take the other carton? She looked at me, and she didn't say anything, but she looked guilty. And off she went. I mean, she just sort of like disappeared back to the house next door. Mm-hmm. And I was still looking for these other eggs, and not eggs, these other little ducklings. And I was really annoyed and a bit frustrated and aggravated by it all. And then I woke up. It wasn't a long dream, but it was a pretty intense dream that I remembered it. And I didn't write it down straight away. Things happened, you know how it is when you wake up.
Oh, sure.
The dog wants to be out or something, and you don't. But I didn't forget it. And I kept remembering over the next few days, and just wrote it out, today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I thought about it, and I knew some of it already, but I analyzed it, and I came up with, obviously, when you find the egg carton, you're thinking, yes, eggs. Eggs represent the beginnings of something. Mm-hmm. They're not yet created. They are in a formless state, if you like.
Right.
I mean, they're growing inside the egg, but they're not any good to us. I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about the symbology of an egg. Mm-hmm. This egg carton had the actual chicks inside, but they were ducks. Now, I was thinking, it's strange about ducks because a friend had made me a set of ducks to put out in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And they go in the ground, and they're white with little bendy necks that bob up and down when the wind blows and so on. They look so cute. So ducks might have been on my mind for that. But then I looked in my dream book to refresh myself, and it did remind me that ducks represent adaptability. They are able to swim, fly, and walk. In other words, they can exist in the three dimensions, right? They can be in the air, in the water, on the earth.
Right. Talk about adaptable, yeah.
Yes. Well, one of my better qualities is that I am adaptable, and I've had to be, because I've moved all over the country, I've been in different places in the world, and I've had to adapt to each culture and place that we lived in, and I've lived in major cities and little tiny villages, so it's like I've been in all sorts, and I enjoyed all of them. So they're adaptable. However, when I looked at it, I knew, because something's been on my mind for quite a while, and I keep telling everybody, I have to stop doing as much community work so that I've got more time for myself to write a book I want to write. So these ducks, these little ducklings, represent ideas, that goals I've set for myself, if you like, things that I want to do, and one of them is to write this book. I've really written it already because it's from talks that I've given over the last 8-9 years.
As a science of mind practitioner?
No, you're right. And I do, once a month, I do a talk at a spiritual center near, well, it's about an hour drive away. But it's a wonderful place, and I'm a practitioner there. And I've given all these talks, and so I thought I would do a book, not a heavy kind of reading book, but a book that gets the points across, and perhaps use some examples of things in my own life to help illustrate it. And I need to have time to do that. And you can't just jot those down in a few minutes every day. You need to focus and get some time to yourself.
Sure.
So the ducklings represent that particular goal, other goals that I've set for myself, to visit friends, to see certain things, and so on. You know, I mean, I've got a whole list of things I want to do.
Yeah.
So that was why I was feeling frustrated and so on, because I hadn't got to it yet. Although in that egg carton, there were spaces. Some ducks had already got out, grown up, and flown. I have done quite a lot of the things I wanted to do.
Right.
But there are a lot that I haven't. And there's a whole carton of these ducklings somewhere in a drawer that I couldn't find.
Somewhere, right?
Yes. And I'm thinking this little girl has taken them. So, well, what does the little girl represent? Okay, well, now next door, my neighbors in England were wonderful people, and they had a son. They didn't have a little girl. So the little girl represents the younger part of me, all right? When something in a dream is not quite right, like that particular fact, often look at it and say, does that represent something to do with me? Is that a part of me? And yes, it is.
Okay.
In my case, anyway.
Yeah.
I am the younger person here who had all these ideas and put them in drawers, putting them out of the way for later on. Okay, now's the time to bring them out. And I'm getting annoyed with this little girl. She disappeared. Of course she disappeared. Yeah, but she's still next door. She's still around. She's still the girl that had the goals, the ambitions, the desires, wishes, and so on.
Yeah.
And it's up to me to get this lot out of the cartons and let them grow up and fly off, or swim away, or do whatever they want to do. So that was my dream. It's telling me, okay, we're coming up to a place where you can get them out of the drawer and do it. That's what I want to do.
I love that. A couple things spring to mind. First of all, you said the book you want to write, you don't want it to have sort of a heavy approach. What do you think the ducklings are telling you in terms of maybe the approach to take with your stories, your book?
Well, ducklings are fun things, aren't they? I mean, they're cute, charming, they're amusing.
Yeah.
You know, they're not heavy creatures. You know what I mean? It's not a lion or a tiger or anything like that. It has to be something. People love watching ducks and ducklings.
Yes.
So I want something that people are very attracted to in my work. And that's what I've got to do. I've got to come up with something like that.
Okay, I like that connection there. Another thing that I thought of is I had a dream years ago with little eggs that sprouted little snakes. And I thought, okay, what's that all about? So I've had dreams with snakes that are very scary.
Mm-hmm.
We all sort of fear snakes. It goes back to the Garden of Eden and, all that symbology. But what do you think
Yes.
Can snakes be, transformative?
Snakes are very powerful symbols.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, the Christian view of a snake is usually negative. The serpent in the Garden of Eden, like you said, representing Satan.
Right.
But in earlier civilizations, snake represented wisdom and healing.
Wisdom and healing.
Because it represented the Kundalini energy, which is apparently, the belief is that it rises through everybody at some point in their life, activating all the energy centers in their body, which we call chakras or energy centers. And so the snake is coiled at the base of the spine. When the time comes, they rise through the body, energizing the person to see their purpose in life, that they're growing into the next phase of their life, whatever it is. Now, also, there's the medical profession use the snake as healing and wisdom.
Right.
Yes.
So much of what I do is writing health stories, stories about healing, using alternative medicine, in fact, many times. So that's an interesting connection there.
Yes, exactly. It's called the caduceus, and it's a very long symbol. I mean, that symbol has been around for centuries.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful example of, yes, healing. Now, we think, well, but snakes poisonous, But that's the everyday reality of a thing. The ducklings in my dream just sat there. I mean, a real duckling would have been making a lot of noise and trying to get out of the drawer. It was a symbol, you see. So
Sure.
The snakes in your dream represented an emergence of, and it's up to you at that time in your life to figure it out, emergence of creative ability or healing or of wisdom, gaining more experience in life.
The power within.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very powerful image. Snakes in dreams are not bad things. Unless you're going through a bad time and you're going to use the snake as that symbol, usually they're very positive.
You have to put it in the context of what's going on in your life, which is exactly what you did with your dream.
Yes.
So this has sparked an awareness, an awakening in you of it's time to put this focus in on these things I've put aside for a while and look at my book, look at my life, and putting those things into words in a way that are, like you said, charming and attractive and maybe fun, cute, where you can take, perhaps with all of your training and your life experience, taking even the heavy experiences in life and putting them out there in a way where you add some sort of levity to it, make things fun and interesting.
Absolutely. Well, it's amazing how the subconscious will give you all these clues in a symbol. And that's why dreams are so, we've mentioned this before, but that's why they can be confusing.
Yeah.
Because we have lost the ability many times to understand symbols in our subconscious.
Yeah.
The subconscious has to deal with symbols. It can't, the conscious mind talks in words and reasons. The subconscious mind deals with the emotions, memories, and symbols. And so it'll come up with something which is like the onion, it has many different layers of meanings to it.
Yes.
So we've got the eggs, something that is yet to be. The ducklings from the egg crate or the egg carton are already formed, small but not yet out there to do their thing. All right, they're not flying, swimming, or walking on the ground.
Yeah.
And so on. So, all these different meanings are in there.
Wonderful. Well, perfect dream for this time of year.
Yes, it's strange, yes.
Isn't that
I
funny how
don't
that
know if
happens?
my subconscious said we'll use eggs because Easter's coming. I don't know about that.
Lots of times, like Marianne Williamson talks about sort of resurrection, Jesus' resurrection also being sort of a metaphor in our own lives of a rebirth. So it's a good time for rebirth this time of year.
Well, spring is, that's the whole point of it. We celebrate it in many ways, but it's all about new things being born out in nature, animals, the lambs come out in spring, calves, everything. Because it's time to make the journey,
Emerge.
and then to the summer and then harvest and so on. It's the rhythm of life, and it's an amazing thing, and it's something we should be very grateful that we are able to observe it. Life is just a wonderful thing all around, even when you're having a bad time.
It's part of that circle, so to speak, the cycle. And for you to be attuned to how it applies to your life, and for our listeners to realize that this is a time of year to reemerge into your own journey. And I think this is a good metaphor for all of us.
Yeah. Well, and there's also something that just occurred to me. We've heard it before, I'm sure. Get your ducks in a row.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Something. Get your ducks in a row. Get organized. Get ready. Okay. So we're getting our ducks in a row.
That's sort of your double entendre there for your dream.
Yes.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Yvonne, and I can't wait
Thank
to hear
you.
more about your book as your chickens start to hatch, your ducks
Well,
start to hatch.
I'm hoping by June that I can get cracking on it myself.
Right.
Because I've got a lot of commitments that I can't get out of until then.
Yes.
And then I shall be able to say, right, it's time to start the process, which will be great.
At least now you're aware that this is something you need to do, and you're making the time for it and the space for it in the near future. So that's very important.
Yeah. Thank you.
You bet. Well, you take care, and I can't wait to hear more in the weeks and months ahead.
Thank you. Yes, we will do that. Talk to you again soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Reawakening with Chris Mann and Yvonne Ryba is a Rising Action Media production. Copyright 2017 by Chris Mann.